tapping. Tap into your purpose. Tapping.
Okay.
Check it out. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. We tapping into purpose. Raw purpose. Raw purpose. We tapping into purpose. Raw purpose. Raw purpose.
Yo, what's good, Raw fam? It is your boy Zay.
And it's your boy Rashad.
And this is the Raw on Purpose podcast.
Yeah, Raw on Purpose podcast, the people's podcast. This is the place where we tap into our real authentic selves while we tap into our own individual and divine specific purposes. And we just come, me and Zay, bringing you the great topics, subjects that have to do and relevant for you according to your life and anything that you may be experiencing, going through, or may even eventually walk into. And we just help you to help possibly guide you in the right direction as you tap into your purpose, being you and authentically you.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can do us a favor, if you're listening to us via a podcast, please go to our Instagram page, Raw on Purpose. You can we'll find us on Facebook at Raw on Purpose, and tune into our YouTube channel. And if you're already on YouTube and you subscribe, thank you so much for your subscription. Please click the notification bell so that you get every time we're dropping something, you'll be one of the first ones to know about it. And that's Raw on Purpose podcast. So we're going to dive into an amazing topic today. I think it's very necessary that we have this conversation in this time in place. So the question is, or the thought is, does marriage seem to be on the decline?
Right. Does it look like it's declining, not getting better? You know, any of those things, right?
Right. It could seem that way. And we're being very, very intentional by saying the word seem, because a lot of times it's not as bad as it seems. Some would say it's not as good as it seems, but it's not as bad as it seems. So we just want to dive into that topic about marriage and divorce and all of that stuff. So first, me being married, I can understand the challenges that people have being married, because it's a challenge of two people becoming one.
Yep, two people even cohabitating.
Exactly. I heard it the other day. It's two messed up people coming together, trying to make something beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a challenge. Like, and for us, when we say a marriage, it's between a husband and a wife, a man and a woman.
Right.
Because that's what God instituted.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is the very first institution that God created.
Right.
It's the first thing that he put together. He didn't, after he created the earth and he created human beings, that was the next thing that he did, was he instituted marriage.
Right.
Which is two coming together. Now,
right.
For those that be like, well, they didn't have marriage license and all that stuff, you're right. That's more of a modern day cultural contract that the government says that we have to be in order to get certain benefits.
Yeah,
right.
It's the benefits. It's like a business benefit.
It's like a business
license.
Benefit.
Yeah,
exactly. But really, if we were to get into the real of what marriage is the moment you have sexual intercourse with another person. You become married to them, because that's the only time that you become one flesh with somebody. Because that's what marriage is becoming one flesh.
Right, because it's like you can go to the church house, get the blessing of the pastor, and to the courthouse to get the papers, but it's not a marriage until it's what?
Consummated.
Yep.
And that's the becoming of one flesh. So, that's a topic for a totally different day. But I think it also, that adds to why it seems like marriage is on the decline. It seems like more people are getting divorced, or people are just staying away from marriage. They rather just live together opposed to being in the institution of marriage.
Right. Why do you think that is? Why do you think, like, especially this generation, most people today kind of don't look at marriage as that real option or that thing to aim in their actions towards in everything these days. 'Cause it looks that way. Like
Yeah.
people are kind of, not to say that people are not getting married, but it looks like people are wanting to more take advantage of the benefits than the actual committed act of becoming together and set that sacrifice of doing that.
Well, in our day, I think now marriage is no longer sacred.
Mm. Like seriously though.
There's a sacredness that comes with marriage that we've lost sight of. Marriage has become more so about being in love with the person or what the person can do for me, opposed to the sacredness of the marriage, which really is to bear children, is to bring children into the world, to help grow them and mature them so that they can be functioning human beings in the earth. Because it's documented that children that are born and raised in a two-parent household turn out much better than those that are raised in a single-parent household.
Yep.
So again, God created a system for a reason. He created it because he understands that that's the best way for things to be done in the earth. Now, of course, because we're human, we bring our imperfections to his perfect system. So therefore, we throw things out of whack. So we no longer think marriage is sacred. It's not something that we take seriously.
Right.
Oftentimes, this is why I'm a big proponent of premarital counseling.
Absolutely.
As well as maintenance counseling.
That's it. Now, second part, I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Some people just go through the initial premarital counseling sometimes just to say they did it. If anybody asks, yep, we did it. We got the pastor's blessing or whoever's blessing. We went through that. Okay.
Yep. And here's the thing about the premarital counseling. You need to find someone that will let you know if your marriage is going to succeed before you get into the marriage. Because that's the other part. Is if you have someone that is counseling you before you say I do, and if they obey the discernment that they see. Because one thing that frustrates me are pastors that see that the marriage won't work ahead of time and keeps their mouth shut because they believe that the people won't listen. And even if the people don't listen, well, your hands are clean because you said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think you two will work. I don't think you two are a good combination.
I don't see why a pastor wouldn't be honest. If you're gonna like have them sit down with you and you know that they, are coming to you for that purpose of before marriage counseling, yeah, I would. I mean that's just me, but yeah, I would just.
Well, some pastors have this. They're not going to listen to me anyways, or it's the other. They're going to do what they want to do.
They're going to do what they want to do anyway.
But I think that they should be honest. Sometimes they protect people's feelings and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of things.
And I know I've had people connected that I've known or have run across that's what happened. Is the pastor saw that wouldn't work, but they married them anyways, and it leads in. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of feel like that contributes to some failures within the system of the institute of marriage.
Absolutely.
Because even most couples they're already going at a speed of just like and that going through some important steps individually and mutually that need to be handled prior to marriage. So it's like that's kind of like let's just because we don't want them to end up sinning and let's just focus on getting them together.
Which then even with that mindset, right? We don't want them sinning, we don't want them fornicating and all this. But divorce is no better than that. Right? In God's eyes, he's not pleased with that just as much as he's not pleased with the fornication. So we have to understand that portion of it. Now, that's not to to put down anybody that has been divorced, because things happen and we make choices. And some, there's one definite out that the Bible gives us from a scripture standpoint, from a God's systematic decisions for divorce, is if someone steps outside of the marriage, right? And that would even be another episode to dive what is constituted as cheating, right? Because from a scriptural standpoint, if marriage is when you have sex with another person, then that's another form of, that's the form of adultery,
right?
Not that you kiss somebody or you spent time with somebody, that which can lead to those things.
Very much.
You want to stay away from it, but if we want to get into the technicalities of it. So, I know that'd have a lot of people coming for me. You know what I'm saying that. But if we take it from what the scripture says, it's adultery is the only out. I believe that God would make allowances for if the person is physically, emotionally, or is abusive to the person, and they're abusive without the notion or without the changing.
So, question, right? So, with that point being brought up, so if like for the marriage, for the survivor of the marriage, going by the biblical principles or what's in the Bible, so it doesn't exactly say that physical abuse would be a reason.
Correct.
Right.
There's nothing that plainly says
right
in scripture from a biblical standpoint
right
that's a means for divorce.
So with that being said, it's like, so what's in what ways can most people base for those reasons to divorce? Because of course, divorce is that that point, and something has to lead up to the reasons for actually following through, filing, and all that type of stuff with the divorce. So, like, as far as domestic violence or emotional abuse.
Yeah, that's always a challenge. And I just lean on,
because we say common sense, but
I lean on the safety of the human being. Because at the end of the day, it's another human being that's being mistreated.
Exactly.
And then if it's being done to the spouse, then the children could catch it. And domestic violence is a mutual thing. It's not just men on women. There are many men that are abused by women. They just don't. They don't say about it.
Men are. We're not programmed to play victim,
right?
Or even say that we are,
right?
No,
we'll take it on the chin, because that's what society has breeded in us too. That our safety doesn't matter to it, and that's a different conversation for a different day, or we may dive into that today. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But all those foundational things about marriages, we don't keep it sacred. We don't do the proper counseling that we need. And then the other part is we go into marriage with the misconception that it's 50-50.
Right, being like one person contributes 50%.
Yep.
Other one contributes 50%, which should make a 100.
100, which it still doesn't. It's both bring 100%.
Because what that means when you say 50-50? To me, that sounds like a surviving marriage, not a thriving marriage.
I agree.
So, because if you have two whole people that are just willing to bring 100 and they're on 100, and their goal is to give 100 unconditionally, I'm here to serve you.
Yep.
Then we creating stuff. Now we're thriving. We're growing. Now we're maturing and creating more.
Absolutely.
Beyond us.
Absolutely.
Because that's the whole God.
Because it should be two whole people coming together.
Exactly.
And even whole people have baggage. Whole people are not perfect.
Yeah.
So we're not saying perfection.
Yeah, definitely not
but we're
perfection.
saying a wholeness of who you are.
Yeah.
You know what your purpose is. Again, marriage has nothing to do with love, and that's a big part of the problem. Is marriage should be more about purpose than it does love, because there's going to be moments in marriage to where you don't necessarily love the person from a emotional point of view,
specifically on that level.
On that level,
yeah,
right? Because and there's a distinction between love and being in love with someone, right? In love is purely emotional. You know, you're in love with someone when things are going right. You're in love with someone when things are there's no turbulence, there's nothing that's either distracting, trying to destroy. You're like, you get to travel the world, you get to do all the beautiful, nice things, right? That's when you're in love with the other person. But then once the trials come,
right,
that in love phase goes away, because it's like, I can't stand you.
Right.
I can't, like, there are moments where it's like, yo, I can't stand being around my wife sometimes. Right?
Naturally.
And it's natural, because it's two human beings sharing a space with the other person each and every day. Right? You wake up to them every day.
Right. You go to sleep
with them every day.
Every day.
And then here's the thing. It's like, what makes you think that you're going to love them every day when sometimes if we're honest with ourselves, we can't stand ourselves some days?
See, that's the important part, what you just said. Because sometimes I've been married before, just so you guys are not saying that, you know, it was this successful, blah, 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 but I have been married before. Sometimes, like, just what you said, like, you could be in a relationship, can't stand yourself, and because you can't stand yourself, that nearest person that's close to you, that's pretty much, especially if you are married and y'all already like this, you're pretty much going to project that on the other person. That type of energy can easily be projected, especially if you haven't dealt with the reasons why you can't stand yourself. The other person just going to be catching the brunt of all the stuff, all the back talk, or the this or the that, you know what I'm saying, that they usually put on themselves.
Yeah.
Now somebody's invited on their pity party, invited on their self-abuse, their negative self-talk. Yeah. All this stuff's coming out in the other person. The other person's like, what did I do? Yeah. What did I say? And then it produces things like, okay, I must be doing something wrong. I need to adjust this. I need to do this. But it's because that person did not do their work.
Yeah.
And if you're a certain type of empathetic person, you're going to take on that and bring it on yourself.
Yeah. I mean, the other part, too, is you can be whole and come into a season of you're not in a wholeness state.
Yeah.
Whatever, something could have triggered in life.
Yep.
Someone passes away, a friendship deteriorates, loss of job. Like, anything can happen that can chip away at the wholeness of who you are, and you have to fight to get back to that. But because of those things, it can cause you to mistreat the other person as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if we were to get to the nits, like, that's the reality of what leads to many marriages coming to an end, is because someone is in a distressed state, and because the other person is in a winning season and the other person's in a distressed state. Because there are seasons where you'll be high, they'll be low.
Yep. And
there are seasons where you'll be low, they'll be high.
Yep.
And then there's seasons where both of you guys are winning together.
Yep.
Right? And you have to, and this is where the wholeness thing comes into play.
Right.
That whenever someone's bringing 20, you have to bring the 80 to bring them to help keep it at 100. And then when they're lacking, right, that's what you do.
Right.
You never give. Nobody's ever given 50%. It's I'm in a space in my wholeness that I'm at 20%.
Right.
For whatever life circumstances happen, that other person has to fill in the other 80% and really pour into them to help them become back at 100. And it's a dangerous space when both are at 20%.
That's very dangerous.
And this is why the maintenance counseling is necessary, because you need other people to help you see what you can't see in the fog of life.
Definitely.
In the pains of life. Mm-hmm. As we've said on other episodes, the valley moments. Right? There's everything has a peak and a valley. Everything is peak and valley. Everything. Sound waves, heartbeat, everything. Yep. Right? Because the moment that it just stays the same, that means it's over. So it's necessary. Like ups and downs are necessary. It shows that there's a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's life.
It's life.
There's still life there.
There's still life there.
Yeah.
So like those things overcome. So we have to understand that again, that marriage isn't sacred. We don't see marriage as sacred. We don't do pre or maintenance counseling. We don't understand that it takes whole people to come into a marriage, and through the sacrifice and the service, this is the other pieces. When you get married, it's to serve one another.
Exactly. That part. I don't know if you guys ever seen I've seen a visual, or it's like an animated picture, but two people are sitting at like a royal table, two royal plates. They both got food, but the male has her food in front of him. The female has his food in front of her. They both have a spoon in front of the other, and they're taking from what they got to give it to them. And they're doing this at the same time, nourishing one another. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm saying? And that's the key thing, is to, like, this is what's supposed to be happening. It's supposed to be one feeding the other simultaneously and reciprocally, because it's about reciprocity. And, like, kind of piggyback some things you were saying earlier, like, marriage is you have to be, it's a partnership, and you have to be a very good team player, and understand what being a team player and being a part of a unit, and that everyone has something, like I just showed you, to bring to the table, and being willing to, serve and give that, regardless of how you feel, anything emotional, or what love level, or anything where it may be at. So like the where's I going with that? The not just the service part, but I think this is where I was going with that. It's very important to, because you were saying how definitely the party should be whole. Mm-hmm. So all right, so this is where I was going with that in a team aspect. So every teammate, even if it was, it's just two on a team, what we're talking about, but both teammates are responsible for their own work, sharpening their own wife tool, their own husbandry tool, doing the work on their self should already be in place before going into marriage. So, like, that should be already a part of an individual's life before they say, I love you and I want to commit to you, but have never been through that continuous season of being in self-love. You know what I'm saying? Taking care of yourself a certain way, so that when it comes to someone being invited, the other, side, the yin or the yang, all you're doing is now outputting and translating that outwardly. That way, it's not like you're not trying to serve them. It's just an extension of you, if that makes sense. So, like, it's like we already we already need to be in the pattern, or the vibration, or the character building of serving self, serving others, serving God, most of all serving God, because if you are committed and really truly serving God, it's according to you getting in marriage, and of course making those vows up to Him, shouldn't be a problem, right?
Absolutely.
Shouldn't be like no issues, because all you're doing is He's saying, all right, so I keep serving me, but I'm putting this wife in front of you. I'm putting this husband in front of you to translate that straight still to me, but through them.
Absolutely.
So it's like we can't like think that when we get into a marriage that everything's supposed to fall in place as far as like, what we can do, um the 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 things that we're supposed to do to maintain a marriage. We can't wait to get into it to activate it. We have to already be activated in our own personal life and relationship with ourselves, with God, in order to have some success when we go into an actual, real, true union. Because today we think we can skip all these steps of not having to do the work and blaming whoever. It's just too easy to blame somebody for your own stuff. Because, like you said, even if you're in a marriage and somebody's abusing you, even you have a part in that because you
Absolutely.
allowed it.
You
So
allowed it.
there was something in you that said, or that you experienced, that thought that was love, that was comfortable, that was reality.
Yeah.
So that's a reason for premarital, postmarital, in-marital, even personal, just therapy that needs to be done, because the work doesn't stop when you get married. It just begins.
Absolutely. And it's again, it's maintenance. Like, and this is something that, as my wife and I were preparing for the wedding, I had to continuously remind her, or I realized this, that most women are thinking about the wedding day,
Yeah.
and men are thinking the day after the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when responsibility kicks in.
Yeah.
And so we have to have, like, the other part of it is having real expectations for marriage. That it's not what we see on TV. Like these
Yeah.
movies, like I always say, they show you, oh, it all works out at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but then they don't tell you what happens in part 2 or the next scene or the
Right.
next situation.
Right. Post honeymoon.
Post honeymoon.
Right.
Or everything ends on a high note for the most part, but again, everything goes in waves because life just happens.
It just happens.
You have children that really shift your life.
Yeah.
And if you're not centered in who you are and then centered in whose you are, I have a personal belief that marriages cannot survive outside of God's presence being in it, and us being in His presence, and us having a strong connection to Him.
Right.
Because we don't know, he has the owner's manual.
Exactly.
So we have to go to the other person. We have to go to him for the other person.
Exactly.
I remember I wrote a poem, saying a poem with one of the lines was, I had to go get her heart from God's hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go to him on how do I better serve her? How do I better leave her? What's the wisdom that you can give me, because you know her inner workings?
Yep.
Right? As much as I may work to learn who she is, to know who she is, there are still some things that are not, that I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
So I need the Spirit's eyes. I need the Holy Spirit to lead me in how to adjust something. Sometimes it's you just need to shut up and let God speak to.
Yep.
And then there's sometimes where you just have to share wisdom. Sometimes people just talk too much and ends up ruining everything. Because you kept running your mouth instead of just being quiet and allowing God to do what He does.
Right. How can you hear God and you're always talking? And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not about always having the right thing to say or always needing or to say something. You know what I'm saying? So, tap into the maker, the one who knew that spouse way before you.
Yep.
And knew his or her situation from the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that takes humility.
Absolutely.
Because you have to put your ego down because you like may think like, oh, I know, or we used to always deal with each other like this, and this is not working. You know what I'm saying? So, because
Absolutely.
like say things change, so because of that, we got to keep tapping in to make sure that we're good and able to still keep things up in a marriage relationship. Because if we try to think we can depend on knowledge or our own ego and what we think is should be done, said, or not said, or whatever, we guaranteed to fail. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? So going to the manual, is key. Going to the source, the maker of it, and the maker of the individuals. It's just easier that way. So there's no. It's our belief. There's no way that America can survive without love, meaning God being love, His
Absolutely.
Spirit being that thing that is in the middle.
Absolutely. Love being the glue that holds it together,
Mm-hmm.
right? Through it being dropped,
Yep.
pain, anger,
Yep.
frustration, like all those things, because life's going to happen and we have to be able to push through. And it's funny because like I asked my mom, like I asked her, why do you think that marriages seem to be on the decline? And she said that nobody wants to work it out anymore.
Yeah.
People want to take the easier route of
Yep.
walking away.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying this back, actually, this was probably 2007, 8, when they started coming out with phone plans with no contracts. And they started shifting a lot of stuff to where
Mm-hmm.
cancel when you want.
Yeah.
And I said that's going to hurt marriages because of the fact that you no longer honor contracts.
Mm.
Because marriage is a contract, not with the state. It's a contract with God and that person.
Mm.
It is. That's what a covenant is. That's why when we talk about like what was important with Jesus was he created a new covenant with us. Right? Because God cares about covenant, which to God is a unbreakable contract.
Mm-hmm.
He does not break his covenant. So when a marriage takes place, it's a contract between the husband and wife and God.
Yep.
That's why when you get married, it is, they say, do you before God and these witnesses,
Yep.
right? God and these witnesses, because God has to be the center. Marriage is, he's the foundation of it.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is.
Yep.
He has to be the foundation and the center of it. And so because we don't, like, there's, culture has created a don't honor your contract. You can get in and out of it however you want. You get to do what you want. It's about you. It's about your feelings. It's about your life. It's about your decisions. It's about you. We've moved into this this space of self-centeredness,
Yep.
right? And people will be like, "Well, he's selfish." It's like there's a difference between selfish and self-centered, right? If I as a husband say that this on this day every month or every week is for me to go do X, Y, and Z, and I don't want to share that time with my spouse, my children, or anybody else, I have a right to be selfish about that because that's the thing that I need.
That's what you need, yes.
To be able to be function
right
for them.
Exactly.
And for myself. So I need this time. And it's okay to be selfish about that. I need my time.
Right.
Even saying, no, we can't buy this because this is what we're saving for. It's okay to be selfish about it. But self-centered is you're making a decision that only benefits you and nobody else.
Right. That part.
Right? It doesn't benefit your wife. It doesn't your husband. It doesn't benefit the children. It doesn't benefit the household. And it doesn't benefit the community.
Right. Right.
So we have and especially here in America, we have a very individualistic identity, idea, way of living is it's me, myself, and I.
I think because we don't look at things on a community level, that that has affected how we move and the decisions that we make in our commitments. Because we're like, oh, it's just me and her or her. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you. Boom.
Yep.
You know, it is no like sense of a greater consequence or a greater effect in mind that
Yep.
that action of doing whatever, you know what I'm saying, that it does affect the whole community, in that life is not just linear, just not that, like this stuff
Absolutely.
comes around, it
It does.
affects, especially if you have offspring,
Yep.
or just or family in general, it comes back around.
Yep.
And it doesn't help anything, because it's like we don't live for the long run. We
Absolutely.
don't make our decisions for the long run, the greater good, the community,
Mm-hmm.
all that type of stuff. And that's the key. So it's like we've been been put uh blinders on, so to speak, to just focus like on one thing, and that is really self, what I want, what I need, what I
Yep.
can get,
Yep.
versus, this other person, this family, this community.
Yep.
All right, what? How is me being me and me choosing to be in a marriage and to expand this family? How does this affect the greater good in all? Because the butterfly effect is real. I mean, like, we all have an impact, no matter what
It ripples.
we think. That thing ripples throughout and,
Yep.
and affects many people. And as you think about it, if the majority of the people are thinking on one level, because we know that, the media, things of that nature can influence and control, or push for a narrative and a way of thinking, right?
Yep.
So if we're all thinking on the level of things that are antagonistic to a successful relationship, marriage,
Yep.
then we know that, of course, that narrative is aimed for divorce. It's aimed for unsuccessful marriages and relationships. So it requires a level of self leadership and recognition of definitely more than us. And that's where, because it's the Raw and Purpose podcast, we talk a lot about purpose. So, because when you tapped into your purpose, you're definitely not just thinking about, I just love this person, I just want to get married because I love them, and I want to have sex, and I want to do this, and I want to have that, and access to this, that, and the other. You're thinking, like, I really want to make an impact on this next generation. I really want to be a greater example of what people are not really seeing in the world. You know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely.
and that's what the marriage, I think, should be based on, something that's just bigger than the individuals and the couple.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what people don't think about is the fact that when a marriage dissolves,
Mm-hmm.
that it impacts, it's a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with them as the individuals.
Yep.
Then it pours out into the children.
Mm.
And then the children's behavior changes, which
Right.
now affects the people that have to deal with the children on
Yep.
a daily basis.
Yep.
And not to mention both families,
Exactly.
right? Because now it's going to create a level of dissension
Uh-huh.
between one party, because one party, people inevitably take sides
Yep.
on a
Yep.
matter.
Yep.
And because most people aren't 100% honest as to why things are dissolving. So now that goes, right? So the circle just keeps getting bigger as it goes out,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why, like, if you look at celebrities that everybody's like, oh, they look like they had the perfect marriage,
Mhm.
and then it falls apart.
Right.
Well, the people around them started seeing this stuff, the children, and then it just gets to everybody else
Yep.
that, like, they
Mm-hmm.
it causes them to be like, why should I get married? It's like,
Right.
you know,
All right.
and it's like doom and gloom and all this stuff. But when you, if we understood that about marriage, and that's why we have to make sure that we individually are well and that the marriage is well. And then
Mhm.
even with the children, making sure that they're well. All those things play a part. I think I have a crazy idea, I think, that would help keep people married longer if they had to think about this, right? We have this big old public wedding, right? We send out invitations. We have all these people come just so they can be a part of the celebration of marriage. I believe that if in order for you to get divorced, you have to bring all
Everybody
those
back.
people back, and you have to do it because we get married in public, divorced in private.
Ooh, exactly.
Because and I want to say this as well. Not every divorce is equal.
Right.
Okay? So this isn't to downgrade anybody that have been divorced.
Not
Because
at all.
most people don't go into marriage with the idea of divorce happening. Again, life happens. But even if that was the case, like you had to, okay, we're getting divorced and it has to be public, then many times that would keep people married longer. You would actually work it out because of the embarrassment of,
Right.
and that's the thing that we always run away from is shame. We always try to do the shameful things in the dark, but it gets exposed in the light.
Right.
So we have to, like, so if that was a part of, like, okay, if y'all decide to let this go, because here's the other part is, it's like, you know, you get married, you have a public wedding, so everybody's in your business now because you've invited everybody to see you get married. And then when stuff goes wrong, it ain't none of your business. Well, yes, it is. Because I look as the people that you invite to the wedding.
Yeah, they were pretty much.
They're
a part of the.
Here's the thing, and they are responsible for the maintenance of the marriage. That's why we say. So I'm saying marriage isn't sacred anymore. And most importantly, if we understand what the bridegrooms and the bridesmaids are for, because they're there as the support system. So when something's coming to attack, they're the ones that are supposed to be strong enough to push them to push whatever's attacking them. They're there to protect. We don't understand that because we just think of a big bridal party, but no, they have a role. The best man, like if your best man is there with you when you're messing up, he's not a friend. He shouldn't have been your best man. You picked wrong. Because he's the one that should be like, nah, bro, you messing up. You stupid. That's
Right.
not smart. You shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
That's what their role is. That's what, because you selected them. That's why you have to be mindful of who you select as your bridesmaids and bridegrooms.
Just don't get no fillers.
Right. Right. They're not there just to be seen at the wedding.
Right.
There is actually work that they're supposed to do. But when we have public weddings and private divorces, it takes away the accountability. And we know that accountability is something that a lot of people, and honestly, nobody wants accountability.
No, especially these days.
It's necessary.
Yeah, it is.
It's
tough,
necessary.
but it's necessary. And
that's probably one of the other things that lead to the perception, or it seems that marriages are on the decline.
Right.
Is because just no accountability.
None.
Nobody looking at the mirror and saying, I'm not bringing what I'm supposed to be bringing to the table, so therefore I am hindering the marriage from growing. Many of us are not doing that. So, and we'll actually dive into that as we jump into part 2.
Yeah, because we're about to jump into more of this. There's more coming with this, Yeah.
So because we have so much to say.
A lot.
But we understand that we just want to honor time so we're gonna dive in.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in. So definitely keep your notifications on.
Yep.
Of course, share this as well. But
where can they find us?
And of course, you can find us at Raw on Purpose. Raw on Purpose as far as YouTube, as far as on there, and then of course Raw on Purpose _, IG, Twitter, and of course we're on Facebook as well. Raw on Purpose podcast as well, and we are on all streaming platforms as well, not just YouTube. If you want to just take a listen.
That's right. So if you have any thoughts on what was shared, or what are your thoughts on what does marriage look like, or even why does it seem to you that it's on a decline, or if we're wrong about something, let us know. We'll definitely take a look at it and be mindful, and we'll even bring that up as a possible topic later on. But yeah, definitely you want to tune in when we drop part 2, because you don't want to miss it. I think we could have rushed this, but this is just a topic that's so vital to the community and the world at large that we have to take our time with it. Yeah. And I think getting the foundational pieces out first is important, so we can dive into some of the more nuances of things.
Right, exactly.
Yep. So until then, any last words?
Not until. We're gonna say that for the next part. Tap in, don't tap out. It's coming. All right.
So until then, it's your boy Zay.
And it's your boy Rashad.
And this is the Raw on Purpose podcast.
Tap in.
Tapping, tapping. Tap into your purpose. Tapping, tapping. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. We tapping into purpose. Raw on purpose. Raw on purpose. We tapping into purpose.